and welcome to BSing Insurance, the podcast. My name is Stephanie Girl, and I'm so happy that you are here today. Today, we are doing a interview with another agent, and his name is...
Jim Ahearn.
Jim, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you being here. So my podcast is all about the transition into going into insurance, being in insurance, succeeding in insurance, and everything that follows it. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself? So where are you located at?
So I live in Port Charlotte, Florida. I do a lot of my work, canvassing, whatnot, around Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Northport. And yeah, I've been here. So this has been home since 1992, but I've been a licensed agent since January of 2023.
Awesome. You are almost as old here as I am. I came here in 1983. 10 years. 10-year difference. So tell everybody a little bit about your background.
So like I mentioned, I've lived in Port Charlotte on and off since 1992. Went up to college up in Sarasota for a year, first year of college, 1999 to 2000, came back to town, was putting myself through over at Edison Community College while I was working at the Regal 16.
Ooh, the movie theater. It's like the only thing to do in Port Charlotte, by the way, guys, if you ever come here.
Absolutely. Well, they have some panic rooms now, but besides that. And then after that, in October of 2002, I left Port Charlotte. I went into the Navy. I was what's called a nuclear machinist mate. So every aircraft carrier, every submarine is powered by a nuclear reactor. I was a mechanical technician for the reactor plant and for the associated steam plant. Did that for 20 years. During that time, I actually came back to Port Charlotte as the recruiter over in that recruiting office by Perkins. So I did that January 2009 until October 2011.
There might be people listening to this that remember you. Hopefully you did good by them.
I met at least 7 of the kids that I knew from the recruiting office out in the fleet. Nobody cussed me out or tried to stab me. I obviously did a really good job.
Obviously. That's awesome. That's awesome. And actually, that's something we were talking about before he got into business is he kind of already learned how to sell, but he was selling the Navy, which if you can sell the Navy, you can sell some insurance. I feel like the Navy is a little harder to sell most of the time, right?
Sometimes, but I mean, they come with their own insurance. That kind of helps. But
so you got into the business in 2023, and why did you get into the insurance business? That's always what I ask people. Always my first question.
So I retired from the Navy in October of 2022. I actually came back to town in September. So I'm sorry, everybody. Ian was my fault. It was my welcome home party, little early retirement party. Hurricane
Ian, guys, by the way, is like a giant Category 5 hurricane that hit us. And that was fun. That hit like right when I opened my agency up. It's like, is this a sign from God? I don't know.
Well, I had a friend from high school that was talking to me about her agency that she had just started. And
I don't know who that is.
Not at all. But she had been a friend from high school. I was already planning on coming back to town. I was, what I wanted to get into originally was a little bit of financial planning. I think it's going to be really important to look at financial strategies for retirement, especially for these younger kids. Mm-hmm. You keep hearing about how Social Security is supposed to go away. We're getting farther and farther away from pensions. Even the military is starting to distance themselves from pensions. Yep. I'm one of the last ones that come in on the old pension system. Mm-hmm. Now they're doing a blended retirement system, which is a little bit different. And topic for another podcast.
Not the best option, guys, by the way, if you have kids going in the military.
But this was a good starting point for me to learn about things like annuities, which are important for retirement, for baseline income. There are retirement strategies that involve, personally, I like whole life insurance. Some people are all about term life. But for whole life insurance as a way for you to have flexibility with your finances separate from a bank. And insurance it's sort of a hand-in-hand, I would say it's a hand-in-hand industry that goes along with that planning. And so it was a natural step forward. It was a good way for me to establish a baseline understanding of what's going on.
Awesome. And so currently, what do you sell and what do you enjoy selling the most of?
So my primary focus has been on health insurance, both both on the Medicare side and on the under 65 side. So that's the vast majority of my business right now is actually in health insurance itself. I've also done some with the ancillary, so your dental, vision, hearing plans, things like that. I've talked to some people about hospital indemnity. So, which is, if you're not familiar with it, it's a way for you to offset some of the costs before you hit either your deductible or your max out of pocket. So it's to give people a good sense of flexibility with their healthcare, because I see that is something that is kind of going away in the past couple of years.
Yep. Things that a lot of agents aren't talking about. They're not getting trained on. There's so much going on with all of that. So my next question is expectations versus reality. So I talk to a lot of different agents all the time, more than you'd ever imagine. And a lot of them have these expectations in the business and they think they're going to have this or that. Did you have any expectations going into the business that weren't met, or visions that, occurred that you never even knew could occur? Like, do you think that you going into this, you knew what you were getting yourself into, etc.?
So for me, I didn't come in with a lot of expectations at the outset. Like you'll hear people talk about, hey, this is the industry that has the highest number of millionaires overall.
Yep.
That's not really a driving factor for me. What is a driving factor for me is bringing together a sense of community. I think that's been a really big issue with our society, like with the American society in general, especially since the advent of social media. You have lots of connections, but they're much more shallow. And I really want to bring in something that is more of a concentrated community, something that's a little bit tighter knit. And that's why I'm as active out in the community as I am.
What groups are you active with locally?
So I'm a member of Northport's Chamber of Commerce. I'm also on 2 of their committees, their Government and Economic Development Committee and their Government Relations Committees. I'm part of Ocean, which is our Charlotte Elder Affairs Network, it's a 501c6, so nonprofit, but it's a networking group where the goal of that networking group is to help seniors get in touch with some of the other resources and services that are aimed at them in the community. So you'll have some of your assisted living facilities, some of your home health groups are part of this. We now have about 3 different insurance agents that are part of it, including myself. Senior Friendship Center. So there's a lot of different groups that are actually interacting.
Yep.
Meals on Wheels and Charlotte Rotary are part of us as well.
Yeah, that's super important. We have couple agents that are not in this town. They're in other towns that are part of groups like that too. And if you live in a town that doesn't have a group like that, consider starting your own referral group. I know a lot of agents who have started their own referral groups, and it takes a little bit of time and effort on your part, but typically it can be a really good system for you to start out with. I've really encouraged a lot of agents to attempt that. I think though the agents, either they're super social and they want to go do that, or they're like, nah, nope, that's not my thing. I'd rather just sit at home and call people. I'd rather go be social than call people.
Same. I hate calling people. It's why I don't do a lot of phone power. In fact, yeah. I don't do any kind of cold calling, really.
No.
Everything that I do is out in the community. Oh, for additional groups, I'm also part of Northport Young Professionals, Charlotte County Veterans Council, and there's actually a new 501c3 that I'm going to be on the board for.
Nice.
And we'll have our first board meeting on Friday, but that's going to be a continuation of that Home Goods for Heroes charity drive that we did.
So what Jim's doing is he's getting into the eyes of other veterans. And, I tell agents, find your niche, right? Whatever you're good at or whatever the community that you already are part of, that's going to be your best referral source, right? For Jim, it's veterans groups, right? For some people, it might be their nationality. It might be you are Cuban American, maybe you're Filipino American, you could be all these different backgrounds, and if a lot of different agents have done very well, maybe you're bilingual, and working with the non-English speaking community in your area. So it's also important. It's all really, really good stuff. Okay, so 2025 is coming. Goals are being set. So tell me a little bit about some goals that you have for yourself in 2025.
So Right now, what I'm looking at is I want to expand my book of business. What I'm starting to see actually take form, which I really appreciate, is that my clientele are actually starting to give referrals, and I'm starting to the networking that I've been doing for the last 2 years is really starting to pay off, and I really appreciate that. Like, that's been pretty awesome.
Yep. And it's a slow go. This business is a slow go. It really is. I've got agents and myself, like, where I'd have months where I'd make a ton of money, and then other months it's like I'm begging somebody for a nap. Right. So I think that patience and persistence in this business, and Jim's been the picture of that. You know, also, as I tell agents, I always think you should have a backup when you first start this business. And luckily he did. He had some, his pension coming from the military, and, you know, he owns his own house. So, you know, definitely having that. Have had a lot of agents call me over the last 2 years telling me that they got, you know, conned into an upline that promised them all this and that. And like their mortgage is 2 weeks behind, and how long is it going to take them to make money? And it's like, dude, like, go get a bartending job. Like, go get something, because there's no way, right? There's no way. You can have some really good sales up front and really good months, but, you know, until you consecutively get your renewals in, you know, and get your referrals going, you know, it takes a little bit. It's a little bit of an uphill battle. It's like any business that you start, right?
Yeah. Well, I looked at this as though it was me with a startup.
Yep.
And so because of that, the average startup takes between 2 to 4 years before it actually even sees profitability.
Yep.
Because you have to get your name out there. You have to establish a basis. You have to build your own brand.
Yep. Exactly. I feel that, you know, I was a field agent for 11 years, and, you know, coming into my agency, yes, I had a book of business. No, it did not transfer over to me. I had to rewrite a lot of my clients, those that I could, you know, and really getting my name out there, say, hey, you know, you've been with me for 10 years, 11 years. I need you to refer me. So I was telling Jim that this last year, I was like, really, you know, you're giving all your time to these people, and anybody out there networking, right? Or you're networking with doctor's offices, you're in chambers, you know, if you're not seeing the numbers from these referral groups, you need to go ask, right? Because the answer is always going to be no if we don't ask. Just sitting around waiting for them to refer you sometimes just doesn't work. Sometimes you'll meet referral partners that just automatically give you referrals really quick, and others you have to be reminded, hey, you know what? I need business. That's why we're all there for, right? We're all there to make money.
Yeah. One of the fun compliments that I got the other day, it's a networking group that I believe Empath had sponsored the night for over at one of the local Mexican restaurants. And while I was there talking to somebody, the compliment I got was somebody looked over and spoke up for me saying, he does direct referrals, letting them know that I actually refer out as much as I ask for referrals.
Yep.
So that that I reciprocate.
Yep. In BNI, we call it the giver's gain, right?
Absolutely.
And people should be using that word more in this business. And I think everybody should go to a BNI or some sort of referral group like a BNI and really understand how it works. Because I know we have agents that work with us now that I've coached them for 30 minutes, 45 minutes here at a time, and say, hey, this is what you go and you say and you do with your referral partners. And they come back and like, oh my gosh, it worked. It's like, yes. Well, if you walk into somebody's office and you tell them that, hey, you need a referral partner and I want to refer you and I want to be here to fix your problems, it's kind of a no-brainer unless that person's just dumb, I guess, right? I mean, there's some people out there running business that are not the smartest. So,
well, you also have to get it to where you're prime in mind for people. Mm-hmm. Like, so as an example, one of my clients just referred their mother to me for a dental vision hearing plan. And they were going through, and he's like, you know, it's a good thing that you set up your table over at the gym, because when you do that, we see you every week. And the moment that my mom needed insurance, I'm like, oh, Jim is here. We can have her go talk to him.
Yep.
So I talked to her, let her know what was up, got her set up for what she needed.
Yep. It's always good to go visit those referral partners, right? Go Absolutely. And just say hello. Do you need more business cards? You know, take some coffee, or, you know, your referral partner is better than anybody else. So It's so important. So, well, it's been awesome having you here today, and he will be back because we're going to go back over progress next year, hopefully, and bring everybody back to the, podcast. Is there anything else you'd like to say out there to agents that are coming into the business or thinking of getting into the business? Any words of wisdom?
I knew that this was going to be a slow start. So I put myself out there from the get-go, offering value, offering advice. When I set up that weekly table that I mentioned earlier, I'm not focusing on pushing sales with that so much as I'm offering the service of, if somebody's got a question, come by and ask me a question. It's not a big deal. Like, if that eventually turns into a sale, that's awesome. Because, I mean, I'm not here just to fall on my sword every time, but this is the kind of thing where it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. We can all be successful at it, and we can all do things in the right way to make the community better.
Yep.
And that'll build your brand better than anything else will.
Yep, exactly. And honestly, for new agents, depending on where you get your contracts and how you're set up, everyone's under like the same two umbrellas at the end of the day. They really are. It's just depending on what management group you're under after that, and what kind of upline support you're getting. One thing I always tell agents is that you just need to have the training, right? You need to be the real good reasons to be in the business, and you need to get some really good training.
Yeah.
If you don't have those two things, and it might be time to go get a 9-to-5 job. Well, thanks so much for coming. And how would somebody, if they want to talk to you about insurance or about working with you, if they're thinking about getting in the business, how would they get hold of you?
So the easiest ways to get hold of me will be, phone number is 941-276-6395. And for email, Jim, that's Jim, at sbginsurancegroup.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jim. And till next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.
Peace.